I was born in West Virginia, and at the age of 7, I got some boxing gloves for Christmas. And I was really fascinated with those gloves. And I enjoyed playing the game of boxing, jumping around, throwing punches, hitting someone, jumping back, letting them miss, trying to hit them. And through that fascination of those boxing gloves I got for Christmas, I eventually began boxing when I was 8 years old. At the age of 11, my parents divorced and my mother came to Detroit. And shortly after coming to Detroit, I began boxing at a program in Detroit at the Brewster Recreation Center. And the Brewster Recreation Center is one of the top centers in the world in terms of entertainment and sports, particularly at the area when I was going there in the late 50s, which was where the Harlem Globetrotters did a lot of their recruiting for the top basketball players. And it was the main and really only major recreation center for blacks in Detroit. Through that program there, I went on to win numerous local amateur championships as a boxer. And at the age of 18, I won the National Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions tournament in Chicago. And that tournament was a tournament where boxers from all of the major cities in the United States met, and they boxed for 2 weeks to come up with one champion for the United States. And at the time when I won it, I was the first Detroiter to do so in 24 years. And shortly after that, I quit boxing, began to work at Detroit Edison, and I had a younger brother who came to live with me, and he wanted to box. So I carried him to the closest recreation center to where I lived at that time, which was the Kronk Recreation Center. His name was James, and he's 9 years younger than I am. And as a result of taking James to that recreation center, eventually we won a lot of team championships. And in 1971, we entered 7 boxers in the Detroit Golden Gloves tournament. And out of the 7, we had all winners after 5 weeks, 21 consecutive wins. And the headlines went all over the world: young coach in Detroit only produces champions. I've traveled all over the world, still am on a regular basis. But when I get back to Detroit, I'm the most comfortable spiritually than any other place in the world. The Kronk boxing team is mainly a team that was built basically from kids from the east side, including me. And all of the fighters that we had in the great era of the 70s and 80s primarily came from the east side of Detroit. Milton McCroy, Tommy Hearns, Jimmy Paul, Dwayne Thomas, Stephen McCroy, Darrell Chambers. The gym was located on the west side, but all of the east siders were what made the team up. I never in my wildest imaginations or biggest dreams ever dreamed that I would have achieved the success that I've achieved in boxing. To be able to be in the Hall of Fame myself, which I was inducted in 1996, to travel all over the world, have friends in so many different countries and cities, to be maybe residing actually in Detroit, the most world famous person that resides in Detroit. I'm not in Southfield, I actually live in Detroit. And to be able to come home and have friends at home in Detroit, and maybe the next day get off a plane somewhere in Germany and have friends there also. It's very, very, very gratifying. And also to be able to work as a television broadcaster, which means that your face and name is familiar with so many millions and millions of people through the television set. It's a great, great feeling. But one of the greatest feelings I still have is when I get off the plane back in Detroit at the Metro Airport. I really love coming home to Detroit.